I love the East Coast. As a junior higher, my family lived in Nova Scotia for almost 3 years. And while out there, we spent many weekends exploring and hiking the various trail networks of Nova Scotia. Now, one of my favorite hikes to trek is out to Cape Split. It is long, it can be difficult, and there are trails that snake off the main trail that simply add time and difficulty. Well, they're beautiful though. Friends, it's gorgeous. It's a sublime experience to emerge from the dense woods out onto the tall sunlit plateau, high above the water below, kind of wrapping around the plateau almost 360 degrees. There's tall grass all around, swaying with each gust of ocean breeze, and the birds are calling as they soar on the invisible air currents. Friends, it's a slice of heaven in the natural world. Now, as an adult, I've had opportunity to return to Cape Split, and I do it whenever possible. It's not all the time, but whenever possible, I love it. And several of those times included other adult friends who had never experienced the wonder of this location. Now, it always starts with Lindsay and I describing the destination. People have to know why we would even endeavor on such a hike. Now, these friends, they needed to know why they're investing a day, why they're investing so much of vacation time to get out and get sweaty and get hot and get thirsty. But when that why is in view each and every time, they said, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. The beauty of the destination drove us forward. And each time it's been worth it. It's been worth the time, the difficulty, the distance that we needed to walk. Now, during the hike, and almost every time you can count on it, during the hike, it's so easy to get caught up in the aching muscles. The nick on that rock you were trying to climb over that drew a little blood. The sweat that's pouring down, the thirst that you're trying to navigate with your water bottle that you know needs to last for the rest of the hike. And in those moments, it's important to return to the why, to remember why we're doing this, to refocus on the destination. It can help energize our way forward, to keep going. Because there is a reason we're taking the long hike. There is a reason we're traversing the difficult terrain. There is a reason why we're covering such distance. Well, friends, because it's the only way to get to the desired destination. For us at PFC, the recent launch of VISION2021 is meant to serve a similar function for our shared journey together. Last week, we looked at our mission statement, the foundational why that informs our purpose for being. If you missed it, I invite you to go back and check it out. Our mission is we exist to nurture an ever-deepening love of God and an ever-broadening love of others. Now, this week, we turn our attention to our vision statement. Friends, this is our target that will help us achieve our mission. We continue to recalibrate our journey in order to pursue this vision so that we can continue to accomplish our mission. And so our vision statement, we are friends who become family, who live by faith, are known for love, and are a voice of hope. Now, there's actually a lot packed into this vision statement. And the reality is that we could say so much. We could spend so much time on it. In fact, we would probably do well to circle back and cover this more in depth at some point. And yet today, we're going to take a flyover of our vision. And we're going to look at the 4 points that make up this statement. We're friends who become family, who live by faith, are known for love, and are a voice of hope. So to start, we're friends who become family. There's a story in Mark chapter 3. Jesus is teaching, and the crowds are gathering. And in many respects, what he's saying is annoying people, frustrating people, getting people worked up. Word gets to his mother and brothers that Jesus is out there stirring things up, and they're embarrassed by him. They come to collect him and take him home to quiet him. In verse 31 of chapter 3, we see the story play out. It says, "Then Jesus' mother and brothers arrived. Standing outside, they sent someone in to call him. A crowd was sitting around him, and they told him, 'Your mother and brothers are outside looking for you.' 'Who are my mother and my brothers?' he asked. Then he looked at those seated in the circle around him, and he said, 'Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does God's will is my brother and sister and mother.'" Friends, Jesus does something surprising here. He redefines family lines around those who are gathered there. And in essence, he declares that his family is open to anyone who would be obedient to God. In the first century, in both Greco-Roman and Jewish societies, it's actually a person's family that determined identity. It defined their social standing. And yet, Jesus' teaching radically runs against this custom by prioritizing participation in the kingdom of God as first priority. It's running contrary to the societal norms, and it gives a new target. Social sciences confirm what we read in Genesis 2:18, that it's not good for man to be alone. The solution in Genesis is for God to create Eve. But throughout the biblical narrative, we see that God has a larger plan that unfolds. Friends, it's the church that stands as a hub for passion, care, and healthy intimacy because we need people. In a sense, this whole idea pushes back against the idolatry of the nuclear family that so often takes root throughout the North American Christian subculture. And it opens us up to a care and concern beyond just our flesh and blood. Studies have shown that in isolation, individuals and even the isolation of a nuclear family from larger community can be correlated to a whole array of problems, such as physical illness, suicide, psychiatric hospitalization, alcoholism, difficult pregnancies, depression, anxiety, child abuse, family violence, and proneness to accidents. Yes, proneness to accidents. Studies show that loneliness can bring on bouts of clumsiness. Babe, I'm not clumsy, I just need a hug. Now, I don't mean to make light of it, because loneliness has been shown to carry negative impacts across almost every aspect of life. Friends, it's possible to be surrounded by others and still feel so alone. Because it's not just contact with other people, proximity to other humans, but an actual experience of foundational mutual belonging. That's what matters. Researchers have found that if you put a mouse with a group of strange mice in a situation where they have to share an insufficient food source, well, the outsider develops high blood pressure. That mouse can't handle being alone in the midst of the crowd. But if you put the same mouse with his family, with his brother and sister mice, in a group the same size, with the same inadequate food supply, well, the blood pressure actually doesn't rise. It faces that stressful situation with more ease because that mouse is surrounded by a family of mice. It's fascinating. Now, mice handle stress when their family's around them, but not when they're alone among strangers. Other research shows that people aren't very different. We're better off when we have a community of belonging that helps us bear the stress that life brings. Friends, at Pelham Friends Church, we are endeavoring to facilitate environments where you can connect and experience profound sense of belonging. Now, we won't be perfect at it. In fact, there's times where we're going to just downright fail. And yet, family who become friends will remain the goal. In those times where we drop the ball, I commit that I will apologize. We'll try to learn from it, and we'll try to be better. You may be listening and wondering and thinking, well, what does that even look like? For me, I've actually kind of worked out a basic metric to know whether we're on the right track or not. It's a little something I like to call the inconvenience test. How comfortable are you to ask someone for help? Now, I'm not asking being willing to be asked for help, but to actually ask for help. There will be times when we need to, when life will be too hard. What about asking someone for help when it will greatly inconvenience them? For so many, this creates anxiety, and they say, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather suffer alone than risk the inconvenience test. Friends, at PFC, we want to get to the place where you are at home enough in this church family where you're willing to ask for help when needed, where you're willing to ask someone to be inconvenienced for you, maybe even burdened, so that you can get through a necessary season of life. Because that's when we know that we're friends who become family. We're friends who become family, who live by faith, are known for love and a voice for hope. So live by faith. Walking in the dark makes people uneasy. It makes Kaylin and Parker uneasy for sure. But they take on a new courage when they can move forward holding my hand or Lindsay's hand. They know they aren't alone. They trust their parent. They have confidence in the presence and guidance of those who they know love them. As a church family, we're navigating precarious times, and walking in darkness is kind of an apt metaphor. For many, walking into the unknown, not being able to see the potential dangers all around or ahead, is an anxiety-raising experience. It's not just one set aside for children. We know what that's like. So in saying that we'll live by faith, we're saying that we're endeavoring to cling to Christ, confident in his presence and guidance. We're saying that we're seeking to confidently trust God today and every day, all while resting in his grace. This is not merely stumbling forward, ignorantly declaring, we walk by faith, not by sight, as we run into a tree. No, friends, this is a careful discernment of listening for the prompting of the Spirit. This is following where she leads. This is responding where prompted. This is heeding when called. This is going where we're sent, even when we're unsure, especially when we're unsure, because we trust in Christ, to whom we cling. We seek to be faithful to the calling. And today and every day, we leave the outcomes up to God. And when we do this, among friends who have become family, well, friends, then it's an adventure. We are friends who become family, who live by faith, are known for love, and are a voice for hope. So, known for love. We discussed love a fair amount last week. And like I said, if you missed that, I invite you to go back to that on our website. Now remember, we love because he first loved us. Agape, that preeminent love, rooted in choice and not dependent upon being loved back. Today's Valentine's Day, a celebration of romantic love. This can make it a difficult day for so many. We all want someone to love and someone to love us back. Yet, if we miss agape, if we are only desiring and long for eros, friends, we will be left disappointed. As image bearers of God, wired for love, we are most satisfied in deep and meaningful experiences of agape. And church is one place where this can happen. Our desire at PFC is to facilitate a wellspring of agape, of choosing love even when it's uncomfortable. We want to do it to such an extent that it's this that becomes our reputation, what we're known for. We're never going to be the most hip. We're never going to be the most flashy. We're not going to be the largest. We're not going to be known for having the best music. We don't have the most programs. We don't have the largest budget. None of those things actually matter to me. But love, agape, being known as a wellspring where people experience the love of God, they can come and experience being cared for, come and experience warmth and support. Well, friends, that's a legacy I can give my life pursuing. That's something that I could buy into. This is a legacy that will never grow old, will never grow obsolete. It will never become irrelevant. At a time when people are wondering why church, well, it's experiences of agape that answer that. We are friends who become family, who live by faith, are known by love, are known for love, and are a voice of hope. So, voice of hope. Friends, hope moves us. The Bible uses the brushstrokes of creative language to paint a beautiful picture of Christ putting all the broken pieces of the world back together. Now, we all know how broken the world is, whether it's the brokenness inside us, the brokenness in our families, the brokenness in our neighborhoods, the brokenness in our world. There's so many forms of it. And each of us knows deep brokenness to a different extent. And yet we long for the hope of all things becoming new, of that brokenness being restored, renewed through the power of Christ. Near the end of Revelation, that letter of hope to a people oppressed and persecuted. In chapter 21, this grand vision is proclaimed. It says, I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. He who is seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. The old order has passed away. Pandemic, racial inequality, financial insecurity, climate change, all the things that could raise anxiety in us have passed away. And behold, I am making all things new, says Christ, seated on the throne. Friends, this is the hope that we cling to. This is the hope we proclaim. This is the hope that even now we seek to bring about in the world. At PFC, we endeavor to be a voice of hope by planting seeds of God's kingdom here on earth so that the fruit of reconciliation, of harmony in the midst of dissonance, of restoration, and all things becoming new may begin to sprout among us even here. In faith, hope, and love, we're building up the broken. In faith, hope, and love, we're tearing down the oppressors. In faith, hope, and love, we stand for justice. In faith, hope, and love, we give those on the margins a place of centrality among us. We move them to the center and say, how can we organize around you? As we do all of this, we become known as voices of hope to those who desperately need to know that there is more than their present circumstances. We are friends who become family, who live by faith, are known for love, and are a voice of hope. Vision 2021 serves as a guiding document to help us move forward together. But it is nothing without the lived experience of shared common life in the context of real relationships. Friends, get this. Know that you matter in all of this. This is not some organizational initiative that we can accomplish with efficient planning and strategy. Nah, this document speaks to natural and organic connection thriving through the free will lean-in of people connected to this church fam who buy in and think it's worth it, who find the vision of a community like this compelling. We are friends who become family, who live by faith, are known for love, and are a voice of hope. Friends, the journey may be long. It may be over difficult terrain, and it may actually need to cover long distances. But when we keep this in view, this hope, this destination, we see that it's worth it. So friends, will you join me